The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's storyline captured minds in the 90s. However, what fans didn't know was that there were more fascinating facts about the movie than what was displayed on screen. Join us as we unveil 20 weird facts you didn't know about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fact 1. Who is the opening scene cab driver? Everyone knows the show to be a star-studded show, but what they don't know is the fact that the cab driver who was in the opening wasn't even one of the actors. He wasn't a random extra either. He was none other than the legendary producer Quincy Jones, who's not only the show's executive producer but also the co-writer of its iconic theme song. I know the first thought that comes to mind is, how on earth did we miss that? You see, when the time came to shoot the opening scene, Quincy Jones made a small request. He wanted to appear in the scene just for fun. So they gave him the role of the cab driver. It was a brief role, lasting just a few seconds. Most people never looked twice. They only saw a driver with a mustache and sunglasses and moved on. Yet, that was Quincy Jones, sitting right there in plain sight, smiling as he helped launch one of the biggest shows of the 90s. Fact 2. The love story that started on set. It's not every day that an actor meets his soulmate on set. Still, for Will Smith, it was the show's audition day in 1994. Jada Pinkett was auditioning for the role of his on-screen girlfriend Lisa, but the role later went to Nia Long because Jada was described as being too short for the role. Even though she did not get the role, that short meeting stayed with Will. Years later, he would admit that something shifted for him that day. He felt drawn to her in a way he could not explain. They would meet again, this time, not as actors on a show, but as two people who are in love. They got married 3 years later in 1997. That one failed audition turned into something much bigger. It became the first step in a lifelong relationship. Fact 3. Will Smith had everyone's lines memorized. When Will Smith was given the role in the show, he was new to the acting world and had a habit that may seem strange to everyone else. To make sure he always knew what was coming next, he memorized the entire script, including the lines of every single character. In some of the old episodes, if you look closely, you can catch Will mouthing the words of other actors while they speak. Shocking, right? But it was not meant to be distracting. It was just something he did to stay focused and prepared. He later admitted this himself and even laughed about it in interviews. Will's habit of mouthing everyone's lines became so noticeable that the director eventually told him to stop. In some episodes, fans still pause and point it out. He was not trying to divert all the attention to himself. He just wanted to do his best. Acting was new to him, and he took it seriously, perhaps a little too seriously, but this dedication is evident. He later said in interviews that he did that because he was scared of messing up, so learning all the lines made him feel safe. It is funny now, but back then it was his way of coping. It shows how much he cared from the very beginning. Will wanted the show to succeed, and it did. The habit later faded as he got more comfortable on set, but for those first few seasons, Will was carrying the whole script in his head. Fact 4. Sherman Hemsley appeared as two different characters throughout the series. Sherman Hemsley's appearances on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air were some of the most unexpected and entertaining moments of the show. At first, he played a serious role as Judge Carl Robertson. He brought a strong presence to the character, and his scenes added weight and maturity to the early seasons of the show. His relationship with the Banks family, especially Uncle Phil, was firm but respectful. He appeared for a few episodes, and then his character passed away off-screen in Season 3. That should have been the end of Sherman's time on the show, but the writers had other ideas. Not long after Judge Robertson was gone, Sherman returned, but not as the judge. He came back as George Jefferson, the loud, opinionated, hilarious character he had made famous years earlier on The Jeffersons. As if that was not surprising enough, Isabel Sanford joined him as Louise Jefferson. It was a full-blown crossover moment. The Jeffersons meets The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The fans of both shows couldn't be more excited. This was something fans rarely saw, one actor playing two different characters on the same show, especially after one had already died. The show never directly explained the switch, and honestly, it did not need to. It was part of what made The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air special. The show blended comedy with charm and incorporated some elements of reality. Fact 5. Queen Latifah also appeared on The Fresh Prince as two different characters. Seems like Sherman Hemsley wasn't the only one who had a special two-character appearance. Queen Latifah appeared on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air not once, but twice, and both times she played completely different characters. That might sound odd today, but back then, it was not unusual for popular guest stars to appear more than once in different roles, especially if their energy perfectly fit the show. Her first appearance was in Season 1. She played Marissa Redman, a powerful, sharp-tongued celebrity talk show host who hires Hillary as her assistant. The scenes between Latifah and Karen Parsons, who played Hillary, were fast-paced and funny. Queen Latifah brought confidence and wit to the role, making her a standout even in her short appearance. She returned in a later season, this time as Dee Dee, a warm, down-to-earth young woman who agrees to go out with Will. The twist? Will, who usually chased every attractive girl he saw, actually stood her up. Why? He chose to go on a date with Lisa instead, the woman who would later become his fiancée. It was an awkward, not-so-great moment for Will, and a clear turning point in his character's growth. Dee Dee's role, while brief, made a lasting impression. Latifah's appearances on the show showed off her acting range. Whether she was a no-nonsense boss or a relatable love interest, she fit into the Fresh Prince world with ease. Her presence brought something special both times, even though her characters never crossed paths. Fact 6. The cast drama that made an actress leave. We all know that Aunt Vivian looked a lot different after baby Nikki was born in Season 4. Janet Hubert, who had played Aunt Viv from the start, was suddenly replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid. For years, fans were left guessing what caused the switch. The show never explained it. Aunt Viv just returned one day looking and acting completely different. Eventually, the truth began to emerge. Janet Hubert revealed in later interviews that her salary was cut, and that simple act created tension. On top of that, there was an on-set feud between her and Will Smith. She said the work environment had become too difficult to stay in. Will Smith also admitted that he was young and not as sensitive and understanding as he should have been. At the time, he thought she was just angry and hard to work with, but he later realized there were deeper reasons behind her frustration. Daphne Maxwell Reid stepped into the role with grace and brought her style to the character, but viewers felt the change. The original Aunt Viv was bold, opinionated, and powerful. The new Aunt Viv was softer and calmer. It was a major shift in the show's tone. While both women brought something special to the role, the truth behind the switch left a lasting mark. Fact 7. Will Smith agreed to star because of IRS troubles. You see, before Will Smith became one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, he had a problem. Will Smith had a significant financial issue. After gaining fame as a rapper in the late 1980s, Smith made a lot of money fast. What he did not do was pay enough in taxes. He spent carelessly and did not manage his finances well. By the time the IRS came calling, he owed over $2 million. It got so bad that the government started taking his belongings. They even seized his income. When the opportunity for The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air came along, Will was desperate. He was nearly broke and needed a way out. The show became his lifeline. What most fans do not know is that the IRS made a deal with him. They allowed him to keep working, but they took 70% of his pay for the first 3 seasons. So, while everyone else thought he was living the dream, he was quietly paying off a mountain of debt. It was a hard lesson for him, but it helped him to learn from his financial mistakes. Will Smith later became more cautious with his financial decisions and business choices. In a way, that financial mistake pushed him into acting and opened the door to the massive career he has today. Without that trouble, he might never have taken the role that made him a household name. Fact 8. NBC execs nearly fired Alfonso Ribeiro. Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton Banks, became one of the most beloved parts of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but his place on the show was not always secure. He was nearly fired before the series even got started. Ribeiro was cast in the pilot episode, and his character, Will's uptight, preppy cousin, was meant to be a key figure. Still, not everyone at the network shared that view. After watching the pilot episode, the new president of NBC at the time reportedly told the team to recast the role of Carlton. Nobody knows exactly why. Some say the executive did not like Ribeiro's performance. Others believe the character's energy did not yet match the show. Whatever the reason, there was real pressure to remove Alfonso before the show aired. Luckily, the production team pushed back. The cast and creators believed in Alfonso and what he brought to the character. His chemistry with Will Smith was undeniable. Carlton's stiff, square personality was the perfect contrast to Will's laid-back attitude, and it gave the show much of its humor. The decision was reversed. Ribeiro stayed, and that changed everything. Over the years, Carlton Banks became a fan favorite. His famous dance to "It's Not Unusual" became one of the most iconic moments in television history. Ribeiro's performance brought charm, comedy, and a different kind of relatability that balanced the entire show. It is strange to think that a single executive's opinion nearly erased all of that. If things had gone differently, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air might not have become the classic it is today. Fact 9. Prisoners prefer Fresh Prince over Harry Potter. Now, out of all these facts, this particular one might seem shocking. In August of the year 2012, the Miami Herald published a report that surprised many fans of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. According to the article, the show had become unusually popular inside the walls of one of the world's most controversial detention centers, Guantanamo Bay. Yes, the same sitcom that brought laughs to living rooms around the world was also a top choice for prisoners held at the United States military base in Cuba. Officials working at Guantanamo Bay shared that detainees often requested the show during their recreation time. Among the various films and programs available, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air stood out as one of the most frequently watched. In that same report from August of the year 2012, it was revealed that the detainees at Guantanamo Bay were not just watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air occasionally. They were choosing it over one of the most globally beloved franchises of all time, Harry Potter. According to officials, when offered a list of available entertainment options, many prisoners would skip the wizarding world altogether and go straight for the world of Uncle Phil, Carlton, and Will. This detail caught the attention of readers worldwide. How could a sitcom from the early 90s be more appealing than the magical adventures of Harry, Hermione, and Ron? Some believe it came down to the tone. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was lighthearted, funny, and filled with familiar everyday situations, even if set in a mansion. It gave viewers a break from reality without relying on fantasy or complicated plot lines. It was also easier to follow for those who may not have grown up with English as a first language. For detainees in isolation and surrounded by tension, the laughter and warmth of The Fresh Prince offered comfort. It reminded them of family life, friendship, and at times even a sense of normalcy. Harry Potter may have been epic, but Will Smith's charm, Carlton's dance, and Uncle Phil's wisdom felt more relatable. No one expected that the sitcom would become such a favorite in such an unexpected place. Yet once again, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air proved that its reach went far beyond what anyone thought possible. Fact 10. Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro worked behind the camera. Will Smith and Alfonso Ribeiro were not just the stars of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They also stepped behind the camera to help shape the show. As the series gained popularity and the actors became more experienced, they were given opportunities to try out new roles on the production side. During Season 5, Alfonso Ribeiro took a significant step and directed one of the episodes himself. By then, he had been playing Carlton Banks for years, so he knew the characters, story, and pacing inside and out. Directing that episode helped him shape the show from a different perspective. It also marked the beginning of his long career as a director, a role he would continue to pursue later in his career. Will Smith also got creative behind the scenes. He wrote one episode during Season 3, demonstrating that his talents extended beyond acting and music. Writing for a major TV show was no small task, but Will was already proving that he was much more than a performer. He was a storyteller too. These moments showed just how much the two stars cared about The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They were not just acting out lines, they were helping to build the show from the inside, taking part in decisions that shaped the show. It also added another layer of depth to their legacy, proving their talent was just as strong behind the camera as it was in front of it. Fact 11. Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff entered a lawsuit with their record label over the Fresh Prince. Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, also known as Jeff Towns, were already big names in music before the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ever aired. They had won a Grammy, dropped hit songs, and built a huge following. When Smith landed the lead role on the show, it seemed like a perfect crossover, with television fame potentially boosting their music career. At first it worked. One of their biggest songs, Summertime, premiered during the end credits of an episode and got over 3 million views, helping push the track to classic status. However, their record label, Jive Records, did not like what was happening. The label feared that Smith and Towns were getting too involved in television and would stop focusing on music. According to DJ Jazzy Jeff, the label began to view the Fresh Prince as a problem rather than an opportunity. Jive claimed that their extracurricular activities, meaning the TV work, were interfering with the duo's music output. The tension led to a lawsuit between Smith, Towns, and the label. Even with all that drama, things turned out well for both artists. Jeff became a respected producer and DJ, still performing globally. Will Smith became a multi-platinum rapper, then one of the world's biggest movie stars. In the end, what the label feared most actually came to pass. Smith and Jeff moved beyond music, but instead of falling off like the label expected, they expanded their talents and succeeded in new ways. Fact 12. The soundtrack was only released in the Netherlands. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song is one of the most recognized TV intros of all time. Just a few seconds in, and most people can already sing along. Strangely though, despite its global popularity, the official soundtrack was never released in the United States. It was only available in the Netherlands. That's right, the full soundtrack album, including the iconic theme, was pressed on CD and vinyl exclusively for Dutch fans. It became a full-blown chart hit. In 1992, it peaked at number 3 on the Netherlands music charts, showing just how far the show's influence had spread. Still, for many fans across the world, getting a copy of the soundtrack was nearly impossible. Back then, if you wanted to own the song, you had to hope someone could send you a copy from overseas or record it from the TV. Now, with streaming and online music stores like Amazon, the song is just a click away. Although it initially had a limited release, it has since become a timeless anthem. The fact that something so American in culture had its music first celebrated in Europe only adds another quirky layer to the Fresh Prince's legacy. What was once a rare collectible is now part of pop culture history and is available to everyone everywhere, thanks to the magic of the internet. Fact 13. The show was once canceled. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was almost over after just 4 seasons. The original plan was to wrap up the show with Will returning to Philadelphia, ending his journey with the Banks family. At that point, many assumed the story had run its course, and even Will Smith himself was ready to move on. However, something unexpected happened. Local television station managers across the country stepped in. They had seen how popular the show was with viewers, especially young audiences, and they did not want it to end so soon. These managers pushed NBC executives to reconsider, and thousands of fans sent angry letters to NBC and also to Will Smith. They didn't want the show to be canceled yet. NBC listened. Thanks to their influence and the show's growing popularity and syndication, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was renewed. 2 more seasons were added, giving fans more time with Uncle Phil, Carlton, Hillary, Ashley, and of course Will. Without that behind-the-scenes push and fan influence, the story might have ended right there at season 4. It was a rare moment when network decisions were directly influenced by viewer demand and station feedback. The fans loved the show, and that love helped keep it alive. Those extra seasons gave us more iconic moments, deeper character development, and also one of the most emotional finales in television history. Fact 14. The cast had a burn book. The cast of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air wasn't short on gossip. They kept a Mean Girls-style burn book way before the movie Mean Girls was ever released. They kept it hidden in a drawer on the kitchen island of the set. The actors and crew would regularly gossip about fellow cast members, like James is getting on my nerves. They'd also fill it with less engaging content such as silly poetry and notes. It became something special that only they knew about. Not everyone took it seriously. Some used it to vent, others used it to laugh. Karen Parsons, who played Hillary, kept the book after the show ended. Years later, she said she might open it again one day. She believed James Avery, who died in 2013, had been written about in the pages. Maybe he even wrote in it too. Fact 15. Will Smith is embarrassed by his acting on the show. What was known as one of the best performances by a TV show character was not seen as such by the actor himself. Will Smith was already famous before the show started. He was known as a rapper. He had fans and had won awards. He also had a big problem. He owed millions to the government and he needed money fast. That is how he ended up taking a role on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, even though he had almost no acting experience. He had only done one small acting job before. It was for a short television program meant for students. That was it. So when the cameras started rolling on his first episode, he was nervous. He had charm and talent, but he did not yet understand acting. He just wanted to get it right. He wanted to keep the job. Years later, Will admitted that watching those early episodes made him embarrassed. He said, "I was trying so hard." He meant he was overthinking everything. In some scenes, if you watch closely, you can even see him mouthing the other actors' lines. He had memorized the full script, not just his parts, because he was afraid of messing up. Still, his effort paid off. He got better with time. The awkward energy turned into something special. Audiences connected with him. They saw the real person underneath the performance. Even though he cringes at his early work, Will Smith also knows those years shaped him. Fact 16. The ad-lib that became one of the greatest monologues in cinematic history. One of the most powerful scenes in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was not all written on paper. Most of it came straight from Will Smith's heart in a single painful moment. The episode was called "Papa's Got a Brand New Excuse." In it, Will's father suddenly returns after walking out on him as a child. Then just as quickly, he leaves again. The story was emotional on its own. What made it unforgettable was what happened next. The final monologue in that episode was not rehearsed. It was said that he did the entire scene in a single take. The emotional monologue was so convincing that some people believed that the pain came from Will's childhood. That was never true. His father had been in his life. His parents wanted him to go to college and did not always agree with his dreams, but they had not abandoned him. Will was not acting from memory, he was acting from talent. One person who was in the live audience that day remembered everything clearly. They were 10 years old. They said the room felt different, and everyone was said to be quiet. There was no laughter. Before that final scene, Will left the stage. He returned, walked into the room, and did the entire monologue in one try. Nobody called for a second take. At one point, his hat even came off. On any other day, the director would have stopped the camera to fix it. That did not happen. No one wanted to break the moment. When it ended, people sat in silence. Then some of them cried. Even the crew was moved. That one moment became one of the greatest scenes in television history. It was the moment Will Smith showed the world his immense talent. Fact 17. Janet Hubert butted heads with Alfonso Ribeiro. Janet Hubert, who first played Aunt Vivian on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was never close to her on-screen family. Earlier, we discussed the long-standing tension with Will Smith, but what many people did not know was that her feelings toward Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton Banks, were just as complicated. When Alfonso posted a picture in 2014 showing a happy reunion with several cast members, things took a turn. He stood beside Tatiana Ali, Karen Parsons, Daphne Reed, and Joseph Marcel. They were all smiling and enjoying the moment. Janet did not feel the same. She saw the photo and felt something very different. In a Facebook post that has since been deleted, she shared her true feelings. She called Alfonso a follower and said there could never be a real reunion of the show. She made it clear she had no desire to be around any of them on a personal level. Her words were not about one moment. They reflected years of pain and distance. Many fans had hoped for a full reunion, but the message showed how deep the wounds still were. Fact 18. The Carlton dance came from Eddie Murphy and Courtney Cox. Another unexpected moment is that the popular Carlton dance originated from two places. First was Courtney Cox's dancing in the music video for Bruce Springsteen's 1984 hit, Dancing in the Dark. In the video, she hops on stage and dances awkwardly with Bruce, arms moving stiffly and full of excitement. Ribeiro found it funny and memorable. The second inspiration came from Eddie Murphy's comedy special Delirious. In it, Murphy joked that white men could not dance, then demonstrated it with exaggerated movements. Ribeiro mixed both ideas and created the Carlton dance as a goofy, over-the-top style that perfectly fit Carlton's character. Interestingly, the script never provided a detailed description of the dance. It simply said, "Carlton dances." Ribeiro filled in the rest. He never planned for it to be funny. He was just trying to show how Carlton would dance if he thought he was cool. The result was something so awkward, yet so joyful, that it became one of the most beloved moments in the show's history. Fact 19. The show was nominated for multiple Emmys and Golden Globes. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air became more than just a television comedy. It earned respect from serious award circles. The show was nominated for 2 Golden Globe Awards and 1 Emmy Award during its run. In the year 1993, Will Smith received his first Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Television Series. 1 year later, in the year 1994, he was nominated again in the same category. These were major moments for him. At the time, he was still new to acting, but people were beginning to notice just how much talent he had. The series also received an Emmy Award nomination in the year 1996. This nomination was for Outstanding Lighting Direction. While it was a technical award, it still showed that people behind the scenes were doing top-quality work. Although the show did not win any of these awards, the nominations held significance. They proved that the series was respected in more ways than just by fans. At a time when few shows with predominantly black casts were taken seriously by award shows, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air stood out. These nominations helped show the world that a black cast show was just as good, if not better, than any other type of show. The recognition may have been small, but the impact was lasting. Fact 20. The show was inspired by the life of an executive producer. The story behind The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did not come from fiction entirely. It came from the real life of Benny Medina, a music executive who would later become one of the show's creators and executive producers. Benny grew up in East Los Angeles. His life was not easy. His family struggled, and the neighborhood around him was rough. Things began to change when he moved in with a wealthy white family in Beverly Hills. This happened when he was a teenager. His mother had died, and his father was not in the picture. A friend's family took him in, offering him a chance to live in a safer place and go to a better school. The change in environment was huge. He went from city streets to upper-class neighborhoods, from public schools to elite classrooms. That dramatic shift became the heart of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Benny wanted to tell that story, but with a twist. Instead of using his own life exactly, he thought it would be more relatable and fun if the lead character came from West Philadelphia. He imagined a teenage boy who gets into a fight and is sent to live with rich relatives in Bel-Air. That idea became the foundation of the show. When Benny shared the concept with Quincy Jones, everything moved quickly. They brought in Will Smith, who was already a popular rapper, and built the show around him. Even though many parts of the show were funny or exaggerated, the backstory was entirely Benny's. It's surprising to think how much went on behind the scenes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was not just a funny show with wild outfits and dance moves. Will Smith was clearing tax debt while learning to act. Alfonso Ribeiro was pulling dance inspiration from Eddie Murphy and Courtney Cox, and fans helped save the show from being canceled. There was even a secret burn book full of gossip, from writing, directing, emotional scenes, feuds, Emmy nominations, and a soundtrack that was only released in the Netherlands. It was pure chaos and brilliance. No wonder it is still one of the most iconic shows. Which of these facts shocked you the most? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more content like this. Before you go, please watch the other videos that appear on your screen. Thanks for watching.